going big tonight. We're going to show some video clips, doing a lot of digital updates tonight. So hopefully that all works out for us.
Give me 1 second.
No problem, guys. We're just waiting to go live. Again, we'll just get started here. Just chill out with us for just a second. Again, 30 seconds out, and we will get started this evening. All right, we're talking. Just getting ready to go live, guys. Again, just making sure all the cameras are up to speed, rolling. We're going live from a lot of places tonight, so again, just bear with us here in a couple seconds, and we'll be going live. Again, I am Nate Zelinsky. Been doing a lot of hunting. We got some great animals to show you. Got some questions for you. Got some tips and things like that. So should have a great evening. Another 1 second, guys. Again, just test the software.
Okay, we're good.
All right. Devin Menino, our producer, who is literally sitting behind 4 screens right now, just told us we're good. So, guys, welcome. I am Nate Zelinsky. Thank you so much for joining me tonight, as we do every Monday night, 7 p.m. Pacific, 10 p.m. Eastern. If this is your first time watching, I really I welcome you, and I really appreciate you coming. Tag your friends, share your friends. Everything that we're doing, guys, is to hopefully build education and make everyone more successful when it comes time to get out there in the field. So, again, Nate Zelinsky, welcoming you, and really appreciate you coming tonight. We have a lot of information, a lot of tips, a lot of updates, things like that. Spent a lot of time in the field lately, so huge thanks to that. Also, guys, you might be watching on many different platforms. Huge thanks for Bowtech Archery for letting us go live, taking over their live stream, and going live tonight. So huge thanks for them for letting us have this opportunity, to kind of broadcast from there. So huge thanks to them. Huge thanks to Diamond Archery, Black Gold Sights, Rip Cords, Tight Spot Quivers, Bass Pro Shops of Denver, Tightline Outdoors, and Nate Zelinsky. I think that's everywhere we're going live from tonight. So huge thanks to everybody for their platforms for going live. Again, comment. Tonight's all about the questions. Send us your questions, your comments, your concerns, where you've been at in the field, your struggles. We will answer those questions, and again, hopefully make you more successful and let you take something great from the evening. So again, make sure you send those comments with us, guys. And also, if you have somebody, let's say we all have that friend that might need some help in the field. Whether they've been unsuccessful forever, maybe they're messing up your hunt because of their style of hunting. If they're not on social media, remember you can always go to the Bowtech website and watch live there as well. So again, if you're not on social media, most of us do have a computer. You can always go to bowtech.com and watch live there. So again, that's kind of the introduction. Again, I am Nate Zelinsky. Thank you so much for joining me tonight. Like we do every single week, I'm going to start off with where I've been in my personal hunts in, say, the last 6-7 days. Then we're going to kind of get into tonight's topic. And I got to tell you what, we got something great for you this evening, so make sure you stay tuned. Here in 6-7 minutes, we're going to show you a couple of bulls that we're chasing that are pretty exceptional, and we need your opinion of these animals and what we should do with some decision making. So make sure you stay tuned here for the next couple minutes. Guys, where I've been this personal week, I went on a sheep hunt. We've been talking about bighorn sheep. I personally don't have a tag, but we got a lot of buddies that have tags. Been out hunting with them, checking things out. And this week with that, got so close to some mega rams. Been hunting a lot of extreme high country. And, if you're a sheep hunter, you know exactly what I'm talking about. If you've never been sheep hunting, these critters live in literally some of the most just crazy, rough, extreme terrain that you've ever seen. We've been hunting a lot of this area this week, I should say. Everything's above 12, 13,000 feet, as high as 14,000 feet. The lot of stuff we've been in has been just veins and a mix of rock and grass. So you literally have a giant canyon, a vein of rock, and then next to it you have a little vein of grass, and then rock, and then grass. And it's rough. Everything you do to go a quarter mile takes you forever because you have to climb, and it gets technical on all these rocks. So we were up there, had actually four decent rams together. Of the 4, one great ram in there, and we were just trying to spot and stalk. And these animals basically have been bedding in one rock section just outside of a vein of grass, and they were feeding, a half mile away, and we knew they were going to come right to us. So we got set up, got our wind right, and it's just very typical sheep hunting. If, again, talking about the animals, if you've been around them, you know exactly what I'm talking about. If you haven't been around them, they're kind of a sketchy animal. Hard to predict. they literally will change their mind. They get that weird feeling, and they'll go 180 and totally change their daily patterns. I mean, they are an animal that is hard to pattern because they get so sketched out and so weirded out so quick. So example, on this day, we're sitting there, we can see the sheep feeding at us. Everything is perfect. That big lead ram, that big giant one, he's literally walking above these other sheep, and as he picks up his hoof, he literally kicks a pebble, the size of a marble. It hits the next sheep basically on its front shoulder. I can see this tiny pebble through my spotting scope. Hits that next sheep, and this sheep literally jumps 5 feet in the air and tears off down the mountain. This sheep probably ran 1,000 yards, stopped, kind of looked up, and was like, oh, that was just a rock, and then slowly fed back, and these other sheep waited for him. Took like 2.5 hours, this little ordeal, because of a pebble hit his shoulder. So that was the first mix-up of the day, but from that point on, from literally a one ram kicking a rock at another one and having a little freak out moment, it put them on guard. So we're sitting literally in like an old miner's hole. I mean, we have rocks piled up to where I'm looking through a hole this big at these sheep coming at us right where they're going to bed for the day. And literally, a couple 100 yards away, all of a sudden they just started kind of getting weird. No idea. As far as I'm concerned, our winds seem perfect. I don't think that they could see us. I mean, we're literally looking through a hole in a wall. I have no idea what happened. They literally turned around and kind of went up and around us. They walked within a couple 100 yards the entire time, but they avoided right where they should have walked through to go to their beds, and they bedded on 100 yards on the opposite side of where we were at. And right when they got into a little canyon, right before they hit their beds, we had to bail because our wind was going to be bad. So close, but so far. So again, having a ball chasing the sheep with the friends in the high countries of Colorado. But we have not been successful yet. The season actually closes tomorrow evening. So while we're here live right now, I have a friend up, or the guy with the tag. He's chasing some right now. Hopefully he's going to put him to bed, and hopefully we can join him tomorrow, depending on what he does tonight while we're live talking to you. So we'll keep you updated on that sheep hunt. But it's been a lot of fun chasing them. For all of you that have been sheep hunting, you know exactly what I'm talking about. For those who haven't, it's a love-hate relationship with the sheep. It's the most entertaining thing to chase them. It's very visual, but with their unreliable patterns, it can definitely be frustrating. So that's kind of where we're at with the sheep. Bear season, for me personally, starts Saturday. I have good patterns on bears right now. So I have these bears feeding on berries. I have them hitting water holes. I can say that we're facing a lot of warmer temps. We've had moisture and cool temps all of August, and now all of a sudden we're hitting a little dry spell. The rain stopped, and it's getting pretty warm. That warm is bringing wind and changing thermals. So we have both. Again, our thermals aren't as consistent, so they're lasting longer. Basically, that midday up current is lasting a lot longer than we would like it to, and the wind that the warm temperatures is causing is kind of throwing the thermals all over the place. Bears having the nose that they do, that's your extreme thing you have to defeat when bear hunting is fooling that nose. So in a situation where I'm sitting on water, sitting on berry patches, I got to have a great wind. So my season starts this coming Saturday. If I'll be in the woods, I can't tell you for sure. It's a 30-day season. I'm a very good patient hunter when it comes to hunting the bears. So I'm going to wait until I have the right conditions. The second I have good thermals, good wind, I will be in that stand, in that blind, taking advantage of it. But again, it starts Saturday. I'm hoping to have good conditions, but I can tell you from the last couple days, we've had a lot of wind, a lot of weird thermals, which is going to make it really tough for bear hunting. So we'll kind of see as that goes as we get into that season. The mule deer is the next thing we're talking about. Guys, this is the year of big mule deer. Between Colorado and Utah, I don't think I've ever seen so many giant bucks getting taken down. Again, the bow season has been one for the record books for big deer everywhere. Again, we had an early winter, or an early spring, I should say, that really helps things out. We had somewhat of a lighter winter in some portions of the state, or some part of the western states, I should say, and some portions of the western states got actually hammered. But the areas that had lighter winters, and really at that early spring, all that combination has led to just tremendous numbers of bucks and then tremendous size of those bucks. So again, the biggest thing with big muleys, patience pays. Studying those animals. Even if you haven't scouted, again, we've been talking about scouting for 90 days, but if you haven't done out there scouting, spend the first morning of your hunt, the first couple days, glass these bucks. Everybody glasses them, puts them to bed, and they immediately jump in there. I would watch this buck for a day. Try to learn the patterns. How long does he sleep? Does that buck move around in his bed? But again, the most consistent way that guys are usually being successful on these deer is watching them, letting them bed, and getting close to them, and either making them stand up out out of their bed or getting close to them to where they do stand out of their bed, you can have that shot, or catching them to and from water or to and from their feeding grounds. But again, this is the year for the big muley. So just keep that in mind. Have some patience. My biggest advice to that is, even if it's a brand new buck you've never seen, try to watch him for hopefully one day and try to learn those quick patterns of where he's bed and how he beds, just his daily habits. We see some of these deers that lay down, these muleys, they'll lay down and they'll sleep for 8 hours without moving. I watch a lot of bucks, and I'm watching a buck right now that he lays down, he stands up every 45 minutes and adjusts, changes, walks 2 feet, sits back down, eats a piece of grass. He's really, all about moving around. He's fidgety. So keep in mind, learn the habits of your deer, even if it's, again, for a day, before you actually move in there and try to make that harvest and make that kill, just so you have a little bit of information to knowing what to expect as you go in there. So keep that in mind. For most of the Rocky Mountain regions right now, we literally have probably a week left of velvet before it starts coming off, or before it gets to the point where you can't salvage it. Not that that's a big deal. For me personally, I don't care. Velvet, hardhorn, I love them both. But there's a lot of people that are all about the velvet buck. So again, you have some time, but not a lot of time. So keep that in mind. Try to get out there in the field. And the best of luck to all the mule deer hunters. It's been a banner year, and I'm sure it's going to continue. I can't wait to get a tag and actually get out there myself for the muley. So excited about that. Now, guys, the big thing that we're talking about, my passion in life, is chasing big elk. The high country, the low country. If there's elk in it, I absolutely love chasing them. So I've been out. Opening season started for me personally, Saturday. Did not get out Saturday. I got out yesterday, which was Sunday. And we've been scouting for 60 days in a lot of areas, a little longer in some others. We've been watching a lot of bucks, building the patterns. The patterns have been exceptionally true. In the area that we're hunting personally, right now, we have a lot of bulls. A ton of bulls in the area. Everything from spikes to raghorns to semi-mature animals to absolutely extremely giant, mature animals. So really excited about that type thing going on there. So, but with that said, everybody's asking, who have I been with? I've been out by myself. I've been hunting with one of my best friends out there, who is actually the digital manager here at Bowtech. So guys, the digital strategy manager at Bowtech, a good friend of mine named Tim. He has the tag, and it's exciting. We really want to walk you through this hunt. So we're going to walk you through the animals that we're seeing, but you got to keep in mind, Tim's been hunting for quite a while right now. He's been elk hunting for going on 5 years, and I can tell you, he's had the very typical hunter success. A lot of time in the woods, not a lot of time scouting, a lot of semi-bad decisions. Sorry, Tim. But he's made some bad decisions, and he has not put a big bull on the ground. He hasn't put any bulls on the ground. So with him not putting any bulls on the ground, I teamed up with him this year. Again, we've been buddies for 15 years, and I said, hey, this is your year. It's time to get there, and let's get that animal on the ground. So with that said, I've joined up with him, so you really got to follow through these hunts. Make sure you watch all the live updates from the field, because I'll tell you what, this is a guy going from very little success on elk to join up with myself, who I spend a lot of time in the field, and we're literally going to walk you through the hunt of what he's been doing wrong, build up all the success, build up what the failures have been, hopefully change those, and be successful. But right now, guys, I want to talk to you personally. We've been watching a lot of bulls. We've seen a lot of bulls. And with that said, we narrowed it down to 2 bulls. And I want to talk to you of the decision-making that we should be at hand. And guys, I'm getting a note right now. We're sorry if you're on Instagram, you will not see the photos. So as we kind of go forth with this, we're going to pan to some photos. So if you want to see the photos of these bulls, you're not going to see it on Instagram. Jump over to Facebook, go to Bowtech's Facebook page, Diamond Facebook page, or Nate Zelinsky's Facebook page, or go to Bowtech Archery, and you'll see the photos of these bulls. So we're going to have some photos of these bulls here right now. So make sure you jump over if you want to see those. But right now, guys, I have 2 bulls that I'm watching. We have an absolute giant. We also have a freak. And I want your opinion right now. Good friend Tim, he's watching right now. He's looking at the comments. I want you to know which animal you would harvest. So we've been watching both these bulls. I've actually seen both these bulls for a couple years. The one bull, the freak, we have named him Larry, Lopsided Larry. And last year, I actually saw 7 generations of this bull. So literally from a 2.5-year-old bull on up, I've seen 7 generations of this lopsided bull. Something's wrong with a leg or a portion of his body, and he grows absolutely a massive right horn horn and a very weak horn. So you got to check this out. We're going to start off with Larry. So we're going to pan right now. You're going to be leaving me, and you can see right now on your screen, guys, that is actually Larry's dad. So that is last year. So if you look at that photo, I obviously drew with just with my finger with some ink on a phone, that big H right there, but that is showing his antler width. That bull right there, which actually is Larry's dad, is looking directly away from us. So that bull is 100% butt towards us, head away, and you can see that giant 64-inch beam sticking off to the left of his head. So again, I mean, this thing has got like 64 to 65-inch beam, absolutely massive. And that's actually an 8-point bull on his left-hand side. That is Larry's dad from last year. Now, I have not seen Larry's dad. To be totally honest with you, I don't know if he winter killed or if he's just been hiding from me, but I have not seen Larry's dad. But now, we're going to go to Larry. So this is the bull that we have patterned right now, guys. So we're going to throw to a video from yesterday of Larry's dad, or excuse me, of Larry himself. So coming up here on your screen.
1 second.
1 second, no worries, guys. We have a lot of computer screens going on. So right there, guys, on your screen, if you look up there by that dark tree, you'll see him walking here in just 1 second. He just came up out of those willows. This is Lopsided Larry. I'm excited to introduce you again to Lopsided Larry. So this bull, you can see him as he's turning around, has got a massive 7-point antler on his right side and a kind of a goofed up, 2-point hand basically on his left side. This bull right here is going to be 6.5 to 7.5 years old. Just an absolute monster. Again, you see this bull from one side, and you're just like, holy cow, what has he got going on? But he's just absolute giant. I mean, his 6-point is huge. Everything about him is great. So you can see him as he's walking and turning. Guys, we got about a minute clip of this bull, and I want you to see it all, especially as he gets closer to us. You'll see him as he starts turning. And this bull is a flat-out monster. Again, full 7 on his right, 2 on his left, but he is big and he is mature. Now, I will say one thing about Larry that we like about him and we don't like about him. Larry cannot fight. Larry cannot fight at all. He cannot touch another bull. A 2.5 to 3.5-year-old 4x4, what you consider a raghorn, a satellite bull, would absolutely beat him up. His antler on the right-hand side is so wide and so long that this bull, he misses all the other antlers. So when he comes in to fight, when he comes in to get onto another bull, his right horn is so wide that every other antler comes right inside of him, and he has no protection. His eye guards on the left are not long enough, so he really struggles to have any connection, to have any battles in the field. He cannot fight due to that type situation. So that's the major problem with Larry. So you see on the screen there, you can see him kind of turning his head, moving around. Just an absolute giant. You see him as he's looking at you right there. Just a mega bull, but he can't fight. So the fact that he cannot fight allows him to rut extremely early. So that's one of the favorite things about it. We're going to pause there, Devin, just for 1 second. So guys, the fact that Larry cannot fight, he ruts dramatically earlier. So we're going to talk about that here in a second. Now, we're going to pan to the next bull. On your screen, you can see the next mega bull. This is Ricky. Guys, so again, we named him Ricky Bobby strictly for the fact that he is fast. Guys, this is a giant mature bull, one of the biggest bulls I've seen in a long time. He has got great fronts, great thirds, great tops. He's heavy, great beams. He's going to be a 54-inch beam, 55-inch beam bull. Now, the first picture you see here, the very first picture on your left is actually in very late June, super early July. Your next 2 pictures are going to be just a little bit later in July. But guys, this is literally pictures of this bull, fairly close, and he has had a solid 40 days to grow on top of these pictures. Now, we've been watching him from about a half mile away over the course of the last 30 to 40 days, strictly for the fact to not get close, not booger him up, not let us get scent. So we've really been taking it easy on this bull. So again, these photos are a little closer. We've backed up since then to just make sure that we don't ever get too close to that bull. But guys, you see right there, he does have a giant point coming off of his sword on his right-hand side. So he has got a 7th point on his right, a solid 6 on his left. He is big, heavy, and strong. We're going to pan to a video right now. If you can see him actually in July, walking around, moving. You can see the big antler growth right there. But I'll tell you what, Ricky is in his prime. Just a big, heavy, hard-hitting bull. I'll tell you, he's an educated bull, though. He's a smart bull, and I do not think it's going to be easy to put that animal on the ground. So, guys, those are the bulls. We're going to pan back to me now, and we're going to talk real quick about that situation. So you just saw those bulls. We have got Lopsided Larry, giant 7 on his right, hardly anything on his left. And then you have Ricky Bobby, who's, again, just an absolute toad. He's a mega bull. He's extremely smart. So we want to talk to you, all the viewers, all the listeners. Tim Glom never had an animal on the ground, but he's in a great situation with some big bulls. We've worked extremely hard. We're 100% public land, no ranch, no private property, public ground, guys. And this is not a high point unit. This is something to where a lot of work and a lot of hiking has led us to having a couple big bulls in the area. They're not together; they're a ways apart, but we can access them both with a lot of miles in their boot. I can tell you, I'm drinking a lot of coffee to keep up with the long nights of hiking around chasing these bulls. But again, you got our buddy Tim. He's not harvested a bull. This is going to be the opportunity at his first bull elk. Would you go for a freak giant, 60-inch beam 7-point with nothing on the other side, or would you go for more the typical mega bull there? Again, they're both neat. They're both, you'd be lucky to have either one of them. But the way we hunt, our style, we generally dedicate to one animal. We have to learn everything about it. You have to take advantage of the tiniest little opportunity that you have at these bulls. Again, simply for the fact that you try to hunt both, you get them getting caught up trying to learn both patterns, and then you start to struggle with that. So again, the main focus here is going to be the fact that we're going to try to pick one bull and dedicate all of our time to that one bull. What would you do? Lopsided Larry, Ricky Bobby. Tag it below. Hashtag Larry, hashtag Ricky. Guys, now I'm going to talk to you about both these bulls here before I jump onto the topics tonight. The big changing factor for us is right now Ricky is 100% solo. That big mega bull, that big 6x7 is 100% alone. He's not hanging with anybody. Now there are cows in the area of where that bull is living. He has not joined up with them yet. We're probably 3 to 5 days from him joining cows. Everything Ricky has done for the last 90 days has been fast. That's why we named him Ricky Bobby. This bull moves fast. He'll feed in one area, taking his time. The second it gets light, he literally hightails it for his bed. He does not spend any time mingling around. A lot of bulls will get near the edge of timber. They'll kind of slow down, hang out, and then go in for the trees. This bull goes from feeding to ripping into the trees and bedding down. You have 18 minutes a morning to try to chase his bull. We're hoping once this bull gathers some cows, he slows his pace down a little bit. But no doubt a bull that size is going to gather a lot of cows, and that's the other thing that we're thinking about. So with Ricky, we have a bull that's smart, educated, loves hanging in the timber, and moves extremely fast. He's also going to gather a very big harem just with his maturity. So we're going to go from having a bull by himself to probably gathering a couple cows. A lot of the cows in this area are in groups of 3 to 4. So we're going to try to sneak in there if we chase this bull and take advantage of the second he starts gathering a harem. But again, that's that situation. Old, smart, and fast. On the other hand, you have Larry, Lopsided Larry. Since Larry cannot fight, like I just mentioned, he's got that giant beam on his right-hand side, but he cannot connect with another antler. So a bull like this comes into him. His other antler is so wide it sticks out to here, so anything that comes into him can get straight to his face. He has no chance to defend himself and no chance to fight. So with that said, he ruts early. So Larry right now is with about 18 cows, and he is running them ragged. I don't think any of these cows are ready to breed, but Larry definitely thinks so. He's bugling, he's chasing, he's licking his lips. He is literally losing his mind keeping these 18 cows together. And if you were looking from afar, you would say that that bull is 100% rutted up to the extreme. With that being said, that bull's going to be a lot easier to work. So it's a lot easier to get it on him. You can locate him because he's bugling. It's going to be easier to sneak up on him. It's going to be easier to call to him. So everything's a little easier with Larry, but It's the opportunity. Do you want the 7x2 or would you rather go for the big typical? Again, we try to dedicate our time. If we spend time with Larry, we might miss that opportunity when Ricky is trying to gather some cows. So again, long and short of it, I know that was a long time, but we want to know what you would do. You want to, should we chase Larry? Should we chase Ricky? And you can't say both. Most of us are going to say, I'd shoot whichever one's closer. I want to hear from you which one we should dedicate the time to. So guys, comment below. We'd love to hear that. Also, ask your questions as we go forth through the night. Again, I want to hear your situation. Maybe you have a similar situation. Hey, I don't know which bull. It doesn't matter. Big, small. We don't care. Again, we chase these big bulls. We think it's fun. We love to pick an animal and go after it. And as far as we just got a question, are there other bulls like Larry in the area? Right now, I have not seen his family members. I can say that Larry always breeds first. His dad last year, the picture we showed first, his dad always bred first. So every year, the genetics of Larry always breed first. So yes, there is a lot of Larry type bulls, in the 50-mile radius region. I can tell you this year right now, I have not actually seen the other genetics of him. Last year I saw all 7, but in the past, I've always seen different age groups of them. Right now, so far this year, they're all hiding. Now, I can say that Larry, again, since he can't fight, he tends to be somewhat of a scaredy cat. He spends a lot of time in the timber. All the genetics of him do because they can't fight. So we're really used to seeing those genetics kind of hanging out. And we're seeing right now that a lot of people are going for Larry. So, again, that's great advice for us. We'll take that in mind. So, again, we have that opportunity at Larry, and then you have the opportunity at Ricky, and they're both big bulls. But since Larry is running first, it's a great opportunity. And that's going to bring us up to the first topic of the night, is talking about the elk rut itself. Because whether you have a bull like Larry that can't fight, and that's causing him to rut early, maybe you have a certain elevation, again, Wyoming, Colorado, Utah, New Mexico, wherever you're hunting. If you happen to have an area that might have cooler temps, maybe you had one good frost, a freak situation. You had good frost, killed some grass, and it might have put a couple cows into heat, or you might have a situation. If you have bulls rutting early, it's always a good thought to keep track of those bulls or to seek out those bulls, because a lot of times, like Larry, it might be easier to harvest a bull that is going into that rut stage just a little earlier than all the other animals out there. So we look for that. So we look for higher elevation that might be cooler. We look for situations of a bull that doesn't want to fight for whatever reason, that might rut earlier before other bulls are trying to fight with him. You have situations of maybe cows are going into heat just a little sooner. But in almost every area, you might have the situation of a small percentage of the bulls starting to rut earlier. And a lot of times as a hunter, I will seek out those situations. Obviously, we're in a unique situation here. We're trying to pick one of the two. But generally speaking, when I'm just hunting for fun, I'm not chasing a particular bull, I look for that. If I'm just going out on a hunt where I'm looking for a 2.5, 3.5-year-old bull, a lot of times I'm looking either for higher elevation, or I'm looking for a certain situation that might cause these bulls to rut earlier, that might bring my approach a little easier to get on these animals. So it's a thing like that that I might seek out when we talk about pre-rut versus rut conditions. The big topic kind of that we wanted to hit on was that patience, that persistence, and how those two things really pays off. So many hunters, and I talk about this, and we brought it up with Tim. Tim's been watching these bulls with me for 60 days. We went out yesterday morning. We hiked in the dark forever. We got on this bull for 18 minutes, and then he went back inside. And Tim's like, man, I wish we could get on that bull. I want to get that animal on the ground. And then we hunted last night, and same thing. We're sitting right outside of Ricky's bed. So Ricky's bedded up in the timber. We're 300 yards outside the bed. The wind is great, and we're just basically waiting for this animal to pop out. And in that type situation, we're sitting there. We're just like, man, is he going to come out? And Tim's like, it's got to happen. It's got to happen. I'm getting impatient. I'm like, impatient? We're 12 hours into our season, and you can't be impatient. I know we've been watching him for 60 days. But in that type of situation, you just got to be patient. And that's the thing that I think a lot of hunters face. We've been out of the woods for 11 months. All of a sudden, it's hunting season. You've been scouting. You're anxious. We get in the woods, and so many of us put so much of our energy, whether it's our overall time as a hunter away from work or away from the family. It's our energy as far as physical, hiking. We've done more hiking and more exercise than we've done in the last 11 months. But so many of us will give 100% of our energy in the first portion of the season. But all of a sudden, by the time the rut hits, by the time we're in that, early September, middle of September, a lot of us get burned out. And that's the one thing that I have to talk about, because patience and persistence always rewards you, always pays off and pays back. So you as the hunter, I always encourage that you always plan, whether that's plan financially, plan time off work, plan energy levels, workout, whatever. Always plan to hunt the entire season. I never tell myself, oh, I'm going to kill early. I'm going to get this thing done quick. I always plan to hunt the entire season. Again, I might not take off work for 30 days, but I might say, hey, I'm going to hunt the weekends and 1 day a week. But I always plan to hunt until the last day of the season. And again, that's how I mentally prepare myself. I train physically to make sure that I can hunt that whole season. I plan to have enough gas money. For a lot of us, that's what it is, to hunt that whole season. So again, I have to plan to hunt the entire time. So that way, when it doesn't happen in the first weekend, doesn't happen in the second weekend, that my mental game is still there. Hey, I got till the end. I got time. I mean, I can't tell you of all the tags I've punched in my life, how many of them have been on the last day, the last weekend. I mean, of the 6 big bulls I have mounted in my house, I can say that every one of them was in the last 20% of that season. Again, patience pays. A lot of times it does happen early, but a lot of times it does not. But you, the hunter, have to plan mentally, physically. Are you able to hunt the whole season? Plan on hunting the whole season. It's going to keep your head in the game. It's going to keep you ready, and it's going to lead to being more successful. So again, that's kind of the main topics. We talk about pre-rut and rut conditions. Now, people are asking, when's the last time we saw these bulls? I saw both of these bulls yesterday. Again, one of the bulls was very close. Ricky was very close to me. And then I saw Larry from a million miles away through a spotting scope. He was a speck. But I know who he is. I know what he was doing. Larry is bugling. Ricky is not. So Larry is talking away, and Ricky does not say a word. Ricky turns his head and runs to the hills. Other bulls in the area are running. I have a lot of younger bulls. I have a lot of 2.5 to 4.5-year-old bulls that are talking. Again, I had a lot of cows talking. We've had a lot of those younger bulls talking. I've actually had a couple of big bulls actually talking as well. Most of the talking has been slightly lower elevation. A lot of these younger bulls have been in the 7,000 foot area, and they seem to be talking quite a bit. So again, it's those type situations that it's situational to situational. But I have heard bulls bugling. I've had a couple bulls respond to calls. I've had a couple bulls that I felt if I wanted to call them in, I could have. I saw actually 2 6x6 bulls. This is going to be on Friday, so before the season started. I saw 2 6x6 bulls amongst a group of bachelor bulls. So these bulls were 6 bulls together, and they came out of timber. They went to a water hole, kind of a wallow area, big long one. It's like a marshy area, about 25 feet long. And I saw 2 6x6s, 270 to 290 class bulls, absolutely tear it up. These bulls fought for 10 minutes. I would say it was far more aggressive than sparring, but not quite rut condition where they're trying to kill each other. So it was kind of that happy median of they locked up, they were not sparring. It was more aggressive than that. They were pushing, they were after it, but they weren't full-blown trying to kill each other. So if you can imagine where that relationship would be. But those bulls right there, I felt if I would have snuck in there, I could have cow called. I could have made some very slight calls, and those bulls would have came in and responded to a cow call very quickly, just for the aggressive that they were sharing. So again, I would say that callability. People always ask about calling. I would say the callable animals right now, you can probably talk and get responses from 10 to 15% of the animals you're chasing. The most of those are still waiting for some cows to go into heat, still waiting to gather harems, and still wait for everything to come true. I would say in the next 5 days, you'll start to see those numbers change. The next 5 days, you'll probably start sliding to 30% of these animals are callable. And then in the next 8 days, it's drastically going to change. And that's when all of a sudden it's going to go to that, 90% of the animals are going to be talking and callable. So again, keep that in mind. The big thing we also judge in high-pressured areas that are getting a lot of hunting pressure, near roads, near highways, a lot of that rut's going to take place at night. This is one of the biggest topics that we had last year. Last year, I was doing some radio shows, in the Denver area. We host a radio show. We had so many questions and calls of everybody saying the rut is not happening. The animals are not bugling. When in fact, if you would have gone out there at 2 a.m., 3 a.m., the bulls were screaming. They were rutting. They're breeding cows. And it just happened at night because of the pressure. All of a sudden, a half hour before daylight hits, and they shut up, and they calm down, they quiet down. So by the average hunter getting out there 15 minutes before light, hiking in, they're like, I've never heard a bull bugle. They did not bugle. They did not rut, when really it's going to be a night activity. So I always say keep that in mind. If you're in an area that's high pressure, a lot of times these bulls will still come into a call. They're just not going to respond to the call. So again, I had situations last year where I was hunting extremely pressured areas. I would go out in the middle of the night. I'd hear them bugling. I knew they were in the area. I'd pinpoint the animals. I'd go in during the day. I would do more cow calling than anything, but these bulls would come in silent. So again, I could set up, get ready, have the confidence. I would cow call, and sure enough, silent, totally silent. These bulls would come in. The average guy was not set up. They would call, but they wouldn't be set up, and they'd always get busted and the animals would run away. So in a high pressure area, I do a lot of scouting at night. Get out there early and just listen. Hike in, just sit on top of the ridge, chill out, take a nap, and you'll hear these animals, bugling and carrying on. The rut's taking place. They just might not be talking during the day, so you have to do a lot of silent sets as far as your calling goes, and it does work. Give yourself patience. Give the animals 20, 30 minutes to come in, and a lot of times you'll be rewarded with success in that type situation. So again, kind of keep that in mind. Just again, I talk about that because so many people I talk to, last year, and every couple of years you get a warm year, everybody's like, they did not rut. To everybody out last year that may be watching right now, it's like they did not rut. How many calves are in your area? I know that I hunted an area last year that I would say the rut did not happen if I was the average hunter. If I didn't go out at night, I wouldn't have heard bugling. I wouldn't have physically watched bulls breeding cows. If I just hunted the normal, 20 minutes before light, hunted during that morning, I would say the rut didn't happen. But yet in that area, every single cow has a calf. Most areas, all the animals have calves. The rut happened. A lot of times it just happens at night and we miss it. So again, just keep that in mind. It's going to help you out. I got a couple questions. Are these bulls, are they bedding in the same area every day? Right now, Larry is moving around a lot with his cows. So Larry is moving around in his bedding area quite a bit because he's chasing cows so hard. So he is moving a little bit. He's in the general area, but I'd say he's not bedding in the exact same beds every day. Ricky has 2 bed points. They are roughly about 3/4 of a mile apart. He uses one bedding area, I would say 70% of the time. He uses the other bedding area about 30% of the time. So he's bedding in the same area 70% versus about 30%. So that's the type of situation that we have in pattern. Pretty much early in the morning when he leaves his feeding ground and starts heading to bed, you can pretty quickly decide where he's heading. He is also drinking just outside of his bedding zone, but very, very close. Close enough to where I'm afraid to set up on that water because it's so close to his beds that I think he would bust us if we had a wind change. So again, for Ricky at least, hunting water is very hard because he beds so close to that water. I got other questions. How do we call during pre-rut? So again, we're talking pre-rut conditions versus rut conditions. For me personally, I don't do much calling during the pre-rut, but I try to stay with these animals as much as possible. My favorite time to work bulls, small bulls to big bulls, is the second they decide they want cows. So you watch a big bull and he's hanging out doing his thing, he's solo, and even if it's in a bachelor group, you have younger bulls, you have 6 bulls together, but they'll be hanging out doing their thing, and all of a sudden one day will hit where they're going to say, you know what, I think those cows are going into heat, I'm starting to smell stuff, it's time to get on these cows. So from the day they want cows to generally 3 to 5 days later when they have a small harem or some cows with them. Again, we say it's a 3 to 5 day period as they really kind of gather that establishment of other animals. That's the time I love to work these bulls. Once they have a big harem, all of a sudden you have a lot of eyes, you have a lot of noses, and more importantly, you have a bull that now has something. So he has something to his name. He has a family. He has his group of cows. And it's harder to pull that bull off because every time a bull leaves his cows, essentially he risks losing those cows. So when he leaves the cows to go investigate another bull, to fight another bull, to either defend his cows or try to go gain more cows, there's always a chance that he could lose those cows. So again, the opportunity, all of a sudden you have money on the table. So the second that they have an established herd, it's harder to pull that bull off. As opposed to the fact that if you have a bull that's just looking for cows, he hasn't established them yet, they're not his yet. It's one of those situations of, I have some, but I need more. That's when that bull is responsive. He will come to cow call. He'll go fight another bull to gain cows. So that's where the situation of pre-rut to rut is the ideal situation to chase these bulls. Like for me personally, Larry already has cows. He had them from the beginning of the season, so we couldn't hunt him in that stage. But since he's bugling, he's easy to find. Since he's working his cows so hard, it's fairly easy to get somewhat close. And all of a sudden, he will actually, while doing his rounds, gathering his cows, he will present a shot. As to where Ricky is 100% solo. So as we watch Ricky, we're waiting for that day where he starts gathering cows. Every time I look at Ricky, I'm just watching him. I might see a cow. Maybe a cow's a half mile off or a quarter mile off. I watch if he pays attention to those cows. When he gets to a water hole, I know cows have been drinking at, does he smell the tracks? Does he have his nose down? Does he just walk up and drink? I'm looking for the small signs of him licking his lips, using his nose, hoping that he's going to start showing signs of that rut. The second that happens, I know that's when it's go time to start putting some pressure on this animal and try to get in there and get that animal on the ground while he's in that stage of building a harem, but yet has not established that harem. And that's a key time for that. We've got a question right here talking about wallows that have not been touched. Again, there's always a point in time when water goes from being a water source to a wallow. In a situation of when they're drinking, they can drink anywhere. So a lot of times we have enough moisture on the grass that these bulls are literally eating the grass and getting their moisture content for the day. Other bulls are drinking out of a little puddle on a rock or drinking out of an indention in the earth, and they're getting enough water to where they don't have to actually do that. When the bulls start to get into that rut phase, when they start to get overheated, when it's time to where they're at daily activity levels increase. The second the daily activity levels increase is when all of a sudden they start to overheat. Their body gets warm. When they start sweating more and they start putting off that overall scent of the rut, they're going to start getting more flies, more mosquitoes. So everything leads to wallowing. They roll around in the wallows. They pee in it. They want to add scent. So they're building up that testosterone, that smell if I'm a man. So they're rolling around for that. They're rolling around to put mud on their overall body to cool them down as they're overall rutting throughout the course of the day and increasing that daily activity. They're also keeping flies and mosquitoes off. So they hit wallows for a variety of reasons. But again, if you're on a wallow and it's untouched, you're probably just a couple days away from that rut activity happening, or there's not animals in the area. But more than likely, it's more that situation of these animals, generally speaking, are just not quite into it. I can tell you what, every time that I go near a wallow, if the wallow is untouched, I pick up a stick, a rock, and I thrash that wallow the best I possibly can. I don't put sit in it, but again, I try to keep my boots tight. Hopefully we're in a rubber boot in that situation or whatever, but I stomp around, I mix it up. I take a stick and I stir that wallow up. I'll splash water on the trees. I make it look like an elk has been there. Just for the fact that as bulls come in, all of a sudden they see a thrashed wallow, and all of a sudden, literally, it's a mental game. I can't tell you how many times I talk about this. People are like, no way. It makes a difference. I've seen bulls that will come up and drink. They might drink twice a day. So literally on today, Monday, they'll come up, drink twice a day. I'll go thrash it tonight. And the next morning, they come in and drink, and all of a sudden they see it's trash. There's mud everywhere. And all of a sudden, they just drop that front shoulder in it. They lay in it one time. The next day, they're rolling around and using it completely. So again, if I come across a wallow that's untouched, I always do my best to thrash it up, mess it up, get it stinky, get it to where they smell that wallow from a ways away. And again, all of a sudden, that can make that difference of trying to get those animals to start hitting and utilizing that wallow area. But again, if you're on a wallow, again, give it some time. More than likely, the animals are just right in that pre-rut. Next couple days, they'll probably turn on. They'll start utilizing it as a rut. But again, you have water and a wallow. So again, you have a water source, 100% drinkable, and a wallow, which is drinkable as well as cooling off, rolling around. So again, kind of keep those questions or those thoughts in mind when using those water sources. But again, wallows are a great opportunity for you. But again, Pre-rut, animals are solo doing their thing. Rut conditions are full-blown established. The opportunity for me, my favorite time, is the situation of those animals going from a pre-rut to a rut condition. They're very vulnerable. They're workable. They're not established. Sometimes the patterns can get a little weird. That's about the only downfall of that time of the rut. Again, they're moving around a lot. They're chasing cows. And a lot of times these animals are not going to be as patterned strictly for the fact that they're looking for cows. Sometimes they'll break their daily pattern in that 3 to 5 day window. But once they gather the cows, it generally falls right back to their normal patterns. But again, for me personally, that's one of my favorite times to get out there and chase these animals. So keep that in mind. Guys, so we're going to wrap up here in just a second. Again, I haven't been sleeping much. It's going to be a little shorter show than normal. But I want to talk to you one more time. We're actually going to throw back to Devin here. I want to show pictures of these bulls one more time. Because again, I want to hear from you. Are we going to go for lopsided? Actually, right there, we got Ricky. So we got Ricky Bobby. Big giant 6x7. Monster bull, 54 to 55 inch beams, super heavy, great third points. Again, that's the downfall of most bulls that you find public land areas, is they have weak thirds. This bull's got great thirds, so we love that about him. So monster bull. Other bull we're going to flip to is lopsided Larry. So we got lopsided Larry, absolutely mega bull, big giant horns, and again, but he is going to be a major on one side and a weak on the other. So keep that in mind. You've got lopsided Larry and Ricky. So guys, we want to hear your vote. Hashtag Ricky, hashtag Larry in the comments below. We'd love to hear what your thoughts are, which bull you think we should go for. Now guys, I'm going to do this every single week. So again, every week throughout the entire hunting season, we go live every Monday night, 7 p.m. Pacific, 10 p.m. Eastern. I want to hear from you. I want you to follow through with this. And make sure also you text the keyword WATCH to 313131. Very simple. Text on your phone, the word WATCH, 313131. As we go live in the field, as I join Tim in the field, probably Wednesday, again, stay tuned with us. As we get on these bulls, a lot of times we're going to go live. We're going to give you updates. And I want you to walk through this situation. Myself, I guided hunts for 10 years. Now I just hunt for fun. I get out there, do promotional stuff like this. But again, I've been fortunate enough to have a lot of encounters. I've seen a lot of different experiences that's led to education and decision making. We have Tim, who has been out in the woods a lot, maybe had some rougher decision making, has not put an animal on the ground. You're going to watch us come together. You're going to watch Tim and I be out in the woods, have this interaction, and hopefully it leads to success. But we want you to follow through this journey to hopefully make it educational for you. Whether you've harvested 30 bulls or haven't harvested one, everybody has a different style of hunting. They have that unique situation. I want you to follow through on Tim and I as we come together. Hopefully you'll learn from it. You'll see the little things. Maybe if you just take a tiny thing from it, maybe it helps you be more successful in the field. So guys, keep that in mind. Watch all this as we go through this. And again, every Monday we're going to bring you rut conditions, where the bulls that we're chasing are, where their deer are, where the elk, the pronghorn, everything that we do, we're going to walk you through every Monday night. We're always going to take your questions, and we're going to bring on some great guests. So make sure you join us again every Monday night, 7 p.m. Pacific, 10 p.m. Eastern. We're going to be here bringing you these live updates and hopefully a lot of live hunts as we go through the fall. Also, guys, a huge thanks, again, we can't say enough, to Bowtech Archery. Thank you for letting us go live on their platform. Huge thanks to Diamond Archery, as well as Black Gold Sights, Ripcord Rest, Tight Spot Quivers. I know we've been using a lot of those lately. You saw that on my personal Bowtech rain setup when we harvested that pronghorn. I tell you what, you take the smartest bow in the world, the Bowtech, especially the rain. Again, all technologies coming together. You throw on that Ripcord Rest, that Black Gold Sight, and that Tight Spot Quiver. I'll tell you what, you have got a machine and really a precision instrument, just match made in heaven. 100% tunability. Again, you're eliminating the bow factor. It's all about the arrow and that point of contact, and you can make the arrow fly truer than anything else on the market. So again, huge thanks to all those. Also, huge thanks to Bass Pro Shops Denver. Again, locally right here, guys. I was down there this week getting some tree stands, putting up for a future hunt, for all your hunting equipment right there. I tell you what, Bass Pro Shops Denver, huge thanks to them for going live with this, as well as the Nate Zelinsky page and Tightline Outdoors page. Guys, make sure you like my personal Facebook page. Again, Nate Zelinsky. Go there, give it a like. A lot of the updates that you don't see on this stuff will all be on that Nate Zelinsky page. So go give that a like, Nate Zelinsky on Facebook. We appreciate that. And remember, For all of you out there that are not social, whether it's your dad, your grandpa, and you want them to watch this stuff, you can always go to the bowtech.com, and all this live feed will be there as well. So bowtech.com. Guys, I'm Nate Zelinsky. Thank you so much for joining me tonight. Again, thank you for also helping with our decision making, Larry or Ricky. Guys, I will see you next Monday, if not sooner, via all the live stuff. Again, text the keyword watch to 313131. Guys, thank you so much and have a great day.